The diet you eat and the foods you consume play a huge role in acne. You can do anything you want to the outside, but unless you're dealing with it from the inside out and dealing with that holistic perspective, then you're really going to struggle to deal with acne. That's why we've put a half a dozen of these videos together to show all the different aspects of it. But when you look at food, it's very, very clear. And I want to go back one step before I introduce the various foods that cause acne, the contributors, the promoters of acne. And the first part is that you've got to remember that acne is driven by a number of major factors. And all acne are different for people and all individuals are different. So there's no one solution. But we've got hormones, and these include estrogen, testosterone, insulin-like growth factor. You've got inflammation, oxidation, immune system, and the gut-skin microbiome. So we want to bring all those into balance with the type of foods we eat. So when it comes to doing that, the ones that cause the biggest problems literally are the ones that cause immune system balance, gut skin microbiome, dysbiosis, hormone imbalances, inflammation and oxidation. And these are typically the foods you see here. And these show up on dozens and dozens and dozens of studies. In fact, hundreds of studies highlight how all of these can contribute to it. Now, there are some foods that actually act as triggers. So for some people, chilies and really spicy food, although in general, they probably don't show up as a major promoter. But what you've got up the top is milk and dairy, without any doubt. I'll go back into that in a moment. Meat is a big one. Fried foods. And if you have consumed fried foods 3 times a week, you're an 84% chance of having a greater incidence and severity of acne. So put it in, there's the numbers. By the way, if I talk about any other conditions, if you have that, you're also at 3 times the risk of having hypertension and heart attack and stroke too. Put it in perspective, it's just a couple of times. You want to avoid fried foods altogether. Now that also gets on to sugary foods, without any doubt. I'll cover that in a bit more depth in a moment. Omega-6 vegetable oils, which is usually what the fried foods are, but they're inflammatory. So they're inflammatory and they bring about imbalances in all these systems. And these are the vegetable oils. These are the sunflower, safflower, grapeseed, rapeseed. These are the ones you want to avoid, not the extra virgin oil. Extra virgin olive oil, as you'll see later, fantastic. But getting on to this, so avoid the vegetable oils. Alcohol, there's no way that you can consume it and hope to have good skin. There is no way about it. And of course, chocolate. And more than 100 grams of chocolate increases your risk of acne by about 29%. So we've got lots of facts and figures. There are so many studies out there. And probably the one that is most studied, the food that is most studied is dairy. And when they look at dairy, and this was a review of 14 of the major best done studies on dairy and acne. And they showed that if you just have milk, basically, the more you have, I'll show you that in a moment, the more chance you've got it. But if you consume milk, you have a 28% chance of increased severity and of acne and the presence of acne and so on. Whole milk, 32%, full fat dairy, 27%, and of course, low fat skim milk, which everyone thinks, oh, it's better for you because it's got no fat. Well, guess what? In this, it actually shows up as worse. Now, these figures are pretty close to each other, so it doesn't really matter. The message it's really saying is that dairy is a major contributor, and I'll show you that why in a moment. Even cheese and yogurt. Now, some people have actually said that they can consume yogurt, because when I put this up on shorts and so on, people have come back and said, oh, hold on, I can consume yogurt. I can't. Oh, I can't consume that. And that may be the fact that there are big differences in yogurts. Not all yogurts are the same. You get yogurts with a really good balance of probiotics in there, very, very different to the low-fat commercial ones that you get in that literally will have no viable probiotics or viable microorganisms. And so there's a big chance, but generally it says yogurt is not good. You will know. Get off dairy, introduce yogurt, see what happens. That's the best way to do it. Everyone is different, remember, as I've said. Then you got, when we look at milk on its own, and the facts again, from this big study where they looked at 14 of the biggest and best studies, 24% increase for 2 glasses a week. So just a couple of glasses a week is a problem. And then if you go a 41% increase for 1 glass per day. So the more you consume, the greater the risk and severity of acne, and 43% if you have more than 2 glasses a day. And now some of the people are going to come back and say, oh, hold on, what about my bones? What about my bone density and osteoporosis? Well, you really do need to look at my 5 or 6 videos I've got on osteoporosis, because milk plays a very small role, if any positive role, in that. If you really want a superfood, look it up, it's prunes. Yes, prunes. But there are many better foods than dairy that give you much better results for bone density and strong healthy being, and not contributing to acne. And then you've got the question is why? Well, the problem is the fact that there are lots of components in dairy, and one of the biggest ones is, of course, they've got steroid components. And these steroid components include progesterone, dihydrotestosterone, which is one of the active forms of testosterone, glucocorticoids, which are much like the pain-killing drugs that people take, the ones that they use if they've got arthritis or so on, and one called IGF, which is insulin-like growth factor. And all of these cause an imbalance in literally all of these. So you can see why dairy is an absolute no-no when it comes to it. And as a result, it increases our insulin secretion and sebaceous gland production. So all of those things you're trying to reduce to stop acne is actually being promoted through dairy and milk. The other food that shows up so negatively in acne are the sugary, sweetened beverages, or those that turn to sugar literally in our blood. And the first is the sugar-sweetened tea. Leads to a 152% increase. So you might think a cup of tea is good, but usually a bit of milk, which you don't want, a bit of sugar in there, you don't want, so we avoid that. Fruit flavored drinks, these aren't the orange juices 100% with the fiber and so on. These are the fruit flavored drinks, 90% increase. Soft drinks or the sugar sweetened beverages, if you have one a day, that's about equal to 1 or more a day, 7 over a week, you have a 61% increase. Now, all of these things are linked with diabetes, which we know is a precursor to acne as well, or the underlying biochemistry is. And then you've got added sugar. If you're just talking about sugar being added to things, more than 100 grams or equal to 100 grams leads to a 212% increase in it. Wow. But it's not just the sugar, it's also those things that break down the sugar and have a high glycemic index. And the first one of those is rice, white rice, and that leads to an 86% increase. So if you're going to have rice, you have a little bit of rice with lots of the other goodies on it that are going to be anti-acne. And of course, bread and pasta, white processed foods, they are extremely high on the glycemic index. And again, you want to make sure if you have any of them, a small amount, and the better versions of them. So moving there, the foods that you should be eating include these ones. These are the foods that fight acne, and they're nutrient-rich, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and they're gut-friendly. And without any question, they include the vegetables, the legumes, that's the beans, oily fish, preferably wild caught, because they've got more of the omega-3 fatty acids, which I'll talk a little bit about later on, along with other supplements that can be used as well. Extra virgin olive oil, nuts and seeds, green tea, and tea with no milk and sugar shows up as positive for acne. And you might go, yuck, but hey, we're serious about the acne, and what we want to do is make sure we get the best possibility. Now, when it comes to the generic or the general diets that people looked at, the studies, again, lots and lots of studies on it. Western diet has got 2 crosses. Absolutely, the Western diet is a major factor. When they've taken people from remoter areas and with virtually no acne existing and put them into the Western society and the Western diet, the acne skyrockets, often higher than the local Western population. So we know there is a very strong link with the Western processed diet, which you can understand. High-fat diet shows up when they've looked at people and populations and introduced high-fat diet. They've found, without any doubt again, a dramatic increase in acne. The high glycemic index, there was an experiment where they just ran it for 7 days, and they gave it to people, teenagers up to early 20s, and over 7 days, and all of the results leading to an increase in acne just over 7 days. So that's a high GI diet, which means that they produce a large amount of sugar in the blood, and as a result, the insulin reactions. A ketogenic diet, Not many studies. I found one study specifically to do with human trials, and other studies on other aspects, animal trials and so on. But all of the researchers say a ketogenic diet is likely to be very effective. And a ketogenic diet is lower carbohydrate, higher protein generally, and higher healthier protein, often coming from nuts and seeds and so on. Mediterranean diet, which everyone is familiar with, and includes all of those ingredients that, you know, I've listed here. And interestingly, won a brewer's yeast-free diet, where they did a couple of experiments, and there were two studies I found on this, where they literally gave people food without any brewer's yeast. In other words, it didn't include any breads and cakes or anything like that where brewer's yeast is used, and or anything else. So they removed that, and it improved. Now, these people were selected because they were likely to be sensitive to it. But if all else fails with acne, the message is go to. There are possibility that food intolerances may be playing a role here. So we look at things like the brewer's yeast-free diet. By the way, they put brewer's yeast in alcohol, in beer, for example. Supplements can be extremely effective in helping control acne as a part of a full gut health, nutrient-based regime. And all of the research shows the role of probiotics, lactoferrin and prebiotics, the gut health side of it. And I've already done a whole video on that side, so check out that video. It's really critical to understand how the gut literally controls acne. And then you've got omega-3 fatty acids. That's your fish oils, and you need at least 2 grams of those a day. Having 3 or 4 a day, not going to be a problem, but at least 2 grams. That's the equivalent to 2,000 milligrams on the side of the packet if you read it. And all of the research shows the benefits of omega-3 for all range skin issues, but specifically also acne, as do these here. So vitamin C. Vitamin C is the building block of collagen. Collagen is the building block of the skin for wound healing, repair, reducing inflammation, reducing oxidation. So the message is vitamin C is a necessity, absolute must. And 2 grams of vitamin C, 2,000 milligrams a day, is a great starting place. And then you've got vitamin B5 that shows up in terms of the metabolism, and also for acne. And then you've got the fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin A. Now, vitamin D is the sunlight vitamin, and it's actually a neural hormone more than a vitamin. So you can get it from the skin, the sun, and your skin actually converts it into a vitamin D that can be used. And the studies, interesting, on all of these vitamins, C, B5, these ones, and zinc, show that all acne patients are virtually deficient in these nutrients. And they found that even with vitamin D, those getting out into the sun more often still had lower levels of vitamin D than the people without acne. And one of the theories is that the acne actually causes or alters the conversion of vitamin D into the effective form. And so we've got vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin A. These are fat soluble, so you get them in the fishy oils, you get them in the nuts, and you get them in the seeds. They're the best places to get those. But at this stage, we need to build in supplementation to make sure we've got all the nutrients up to scratch. And the mineral that shows up most commonly as a deficiency, and the trials, there are trials on all of these. The trials all show that supplementing with zinc helps control acne and lots of other skin conditions. Zinc has about 200 or so biological processes in the body, and without any doubt, one of them, a major role it plays, is in the immune system, and acne is driven by the immune system. So you've got a good strategy there, what you can supplement, and when and how really depends on you and availability. But when it comes down to other things that you can add in, these 3 things show up not in terms of acne specifically, but lots of skin conditions. And there are dozens of studies on moringa, superfood. It's a superfood, and a teaspoon of that should be added to every person's regime every single day. And I actually have a couple of little moringa trees still growing out in the backyard, and I harvest them once a year, but I get lots of moringa in. So I get the moringa, melatonin, and turmeric. They've all been shown to be anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and improve skin conditions like rosacea, psoriasis, and all the other things around acne, improve gut health. And only the studies I couldn't find specifically on them and acne, but they're more than likely to be a benefit. And there's a lot of myths around melatonin. Melatonin is extremely safe. It's in the safe category, the same as vitamin C, and there are really stupid people out there saying, oh, don't take melatonin. Rubbish. I've read hundreds and hundreds of studies on it. These people haven't. And so turmeric, absolutely. Now, the whole idea of this program I've given you is there are different parts to it, going from the gut right through to supplements and food and diet, right through to toxins that may be contributing to it. And so we've got parts 1 to 5 on acne. Make sure you check these out, because you may fix the skin. And this is what frustrates me to no end, is these dermatologists going, oh, use this. Here's a cream with toxins in it, steroid creams in it. Oh, here's another one, the contraceptive pill. These are not dealing with the underlying issues. They're postponing it and making it worse. If you want to fix the problem, you use this program. And this is the only program I've ever come across that looks at the total picture of it. So make sure you subscribe. And you're thinking, how do I do all this? Well, you do it a bit at a time. You don't have to do it all today or tomorrow. You implement it over a period of time. And the things that you can do easiest, you do soonest. So my message is, you need to treat the underlying causes. So make sure you subscribe to our program and like the button. Send me some questions. I'd love to try and answer them. And make sure you share this with your friends.